is recording is in progress. So back to the webpage. So we covered the 6th and the 12th. Lawn, the 13th is a creative next week. The 14th is the film users group meeting. So you film you guys. And we do that by Zoom. Let me send me an email. My email is available on the focus group page there. Portrait focus group meeting. Last month we did an awesome portrait workshop led by Kit May and his whole team of folks. There was 4 or 5 folks that put that thing together. Kit, anything to say about the portrait group coming up? Meeting?
Well, it's next Thursday. It's via Zoom. If you're not on the portrait focus group list and want to be, I'll be happy to include anyone. And even if you don't want to share, we'd love to have you join in and see what folks are doing.
You learn a lot. Every time you go to that meeting, you learn a lot. I guarantee it.
Jaime,
Yes, ma'am.
just excuse me. I believe Thursday is June 15th. Am I wrong?
You are right.
Okay.
Okay. So
Just
we'll-
little,
What's it say?
14.
14.
You'll be early. You're just a little early. That's all.
You can go one day early and just wait.
Yeah, you're just waiting in the waiting room. That's all right. So yes, we will correct the 14th, that's for the
Thursday,
15th. 15th. That's a Navy payday right there. On the 18th, hopefully that is the right, that's a Sunday. At 11, we have a coffee meeting, coffee and cameras. We talk about just about anything under the sun, including cameras and photography. And there's a board meeting coming up, macro focus group meeting. If you've seen the Facebook group and all the amazing shots that the group has put, Matt got together and had his group meet out at Oliver Winery. Matt, what can you tell us about that? Love the pictures. He was on mine.
You want me to go there?
I'm here. Yeah,
Uh,
so can you
go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yep.
So hopefully next group meeting, we'll be seeing a lot of our photos from the Oliver Winery outing, which is pretty awesome. I've never been there. I had a really great time. So it'll just be a photo share for our next meeting.
Great. Beautiful
Great.
pictures are on our Facebook group. Serendipity. This is a new group that's come out and amazing shots that are coming from that group. It's Becca, right? Becca's on board.
Yeah.
Becca, are you online?
I didn't see it.
Anyway, check out the group if you want that. We take
This is a group that we don't pay too much attention to how perfect the picture is. If you have a picture that you want to show, come to that group.
it snaps.
Period.
And it's amazing. They're amazing pictures. Spuds is street photojournalism, urban. Documentary and sports.
Yeah.
So if you're that kind of photographer, I apologize. I'm trying to remember what all that was. Alan takes care of that group. Amazing group. Sometimes the Spuds group and the film users group get together and do street photography downtown or over at and so we're gonna do one hopefully soon. We'll arrange that and then open it up to everyone can meet us on there. And then I personally feel the greatest group is the hybrid photo critique meeting. In this meeting, we talk about the aesthetics of the photography. You bring whatever style of photography you have, and we talk about we don't necessarily talk about the technical and how to make the picture, but does the picture show the meaning? Does it have some of the rules and stuff like that? And how does it make you feel? So we do that in that meeting. And then so you can see what's going on for July. And so that's up for our schedule. So visit our website, take a look at it. It's got some great shots in there. And for you folks and your visitors, take a look. Hopefully you're interested and want to join us in some of those focus groups.
We're gonna stop sharing.
Can you clarify, on that next for July, it says there's a jury to exhibit photo submission form. When is the deadline? It says the 1st through the 21st. Is the 21st the deadline?
You would send the information about that as soon as everything is ready. So it's gonna be soon. Still working on the part. Hey, Tom, are you still there? I didn't have the information with me.
Yes, Tom Zoss is here.
Please, in this
And to answer her question, the submission form goes live July 1st, and you can submit your images for the upcoming juried exhibit through midnight of July 21st. And then the jurying will follow after that.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. Everybody should be getting ready. You can submit up to 5 images this year, and there's no entry fee, thanks to the board. So start looking for 5 good images to submit to our exhibit this year.
Yep, so there should be a lot of images. I know we have a lot of great photographers.
with
Do you
that-
have a date? Do you have a date for the exhibit?
Yes, it's gonna be September and October. September and October, 2 months. We're
Thank
gonna
you.
select up to 75 images, maybe more. I don't know now. Things are dynamic in there, but
Yeah,
so far 75 images.
and if you're new and you're not familiar with what we're talking about, the Waldron Art Center that's just down the road over here, I guess in that direction over there. Every year we have a jury exhibit where you submit your photos and a jury panel looks at your photos and everyone's photos, and they're all anonymous, and decide which ones they think should be shown on the walls there in the wall. And then, so last year it was for a month, and I guess in the past it's been a month, and this year we get 2 months. And we've had, there's been a cost, no more cost this year, and so you can, it's gonna be a great thing. So there's an opening night, sometimes there's wine and cheese, there's some speakers and stuff. Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to mention the jurors are all outside the club, they're professional,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Journalists or and they're all, the 3 of them, and they're all from different fields, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Trying to make that as.
And one thing I would like to add about that, if you submit images and it did not get it chosen, that does not mean that they are bad images. Each juror that comes in have his or her own opinion. So don't feel down if your images is not submit. All of us sitting in here have images that was rejected,
yeah,
that you consider good images, okay?
There've
So,
been people who've submitted 1 year and didn't get it in, so
Yes.
they try again the next year.
Yeah. So it's a great opportunity. And then throughout the year, you'll see on the schedule, throughout the year, we have other displays where we do at the convention center. And the committee puts that on, where if you're part of a focus group, typically you're part of a focus group, they ask for entries. And then it's usually 40, 50 photos.
yeah.
40, 50, and not just focus groups, but typically it's a focus group. So if you didn't get into the jury, or you want to get your feet wet into displaying somewhere in public, those are some great outlets for you to do that. Thank you for that information. Good questions out there online.
When I stop sharing the screen, so I can, you want to introduce Walt?
Yeah.
Sturman.
So our tech tip today is on travel photography. Well, Walt Travel, who is there, he's going to share his screen and give us a talk on different styles of travel photography. Walt, it's up to you, buddy.
All righty. Thank you, Jaime. I will put my screen on share here. Everybody see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so my tech tips on travel photography. Just a little introduction. My tip is going to be oriented toward nature photography because that's what I do. But the same principles can be used for most any other kind of photography. And so I've used them for other areas as well. So you can translate this into about any type of photography that you're interested in doing. As with everything, good travel photography, preparation is the key. And it always takes a little bit of time and work up front to be able to get good pictures. I'm going to talk about 3 different types of preparation that I've done for different trips. One is hiring a professional guide. 2 is buying a good guidebook, and 3 is doing the work on your own. Why would you want to hire a professional guide? Well, there's a lot of pros to it. It gets you to the best photographic opportunities in a short amount of time. They know the places to go and can take you there. They do a lot of the legwork for you as far as the logistics of getting in and out of there. And you usually get great photographic instruction. The cons, of course, are that it's expensive. So I'm going to divide hiring a professional guide up into 3 different areas. The first one is to hire an individual professional photographer that is from the area that you're going to, and to take you out individually. Of course, this is usually the most expensive option, but you'll get a chance to see the best places at the best times without a lot of other photographers around normally. You should get great individual feedback and instruction about how to manage your shots and get great feedback on your shots, and your results should be good. I'm going to, okay. So I did this one time, only one time, because it is expensive. But my wife and I were visiting South Island in New Zealand, and we were only there for 3 days. And I wanted to see, the best spots and get good shots. And so I did hire a guy, and it was a lot of fun. He was a very personable guy. We had a great time together. He gave me a lot of tips and talk about different things that we could do. And we got some great shots. He knew some great places to go for sunsets. And in the mountains, that's what South Island is known for, the mountains. This is one of my favorite shots from the trip. And it's interesting because to get to this spot, we had to drive out on a dirt road that was on the ledge of a mountain that was just barely wide enough to pass cars coming the other way. And it was pretty scary when we did, because he was right out on the edge. But we got out and we made this shot. And then what was most scary was that he had to turn around in the middle of the road and get back the other way. The next thing is to hire a professional guide or to join a workshop. Now, this is a pretty popular thing to do. I've done this several times. It's probably the second most expensive way to go. Usually these will go for several days. They will include lodging, sometimes travel logistics. They'll include meals, classroom work, all kinds of things like that. Again, you'll see the best places at the right times, because that's all part of their plan. But sometimes there's a lot of other photographers there. I've been on groups like this where we're at a overlook in the Smoky Mountains, and there's 3 photography workshops out there with 30 people with tripods crossing legs trying to take pictures of the sunrise. But it's okay. You usually can get what you need out of it. Usually they will include some instruction and feedback on your shots, which is again a nice part of having taken place in those things. And your results are good, although you're somewhat limited because the itinerary of the workshops are pretty rigid. They've got their schedule and they've got what they want to do. And if you have a rain out or something, you're probably going to miss that spot because there isn't time to get back to it. And I've had that happen as well. Usually you have to get up every morning for an early sunrise shot, which is good for me because I have a hard time getting myself up in the morning for sunrise shots. And so having that discipline and having someone expecting me to be down there for breakfast in the dark and getting ready to go out is a good thing for me. And it's gotten me out in the morning a lot and taught me how to do that a little better. You can make a lot of good photographic friends in these workshops, and they can be a great experience. One of the ones that I've done that I was most happy with was in Patagonia. We had a 21-day workshop that traveled up and down the coast of Chile and Argentina and visited all of the national parks in Patagonia. This was my favorite shot that I've ever taken. And it was on this trip. We were doing a 12-mile hike around the base of these mountains in Las Glacias National Park, and was coming down from the hike following this creek. And I turned around and saw, actually I kind of heard the waterfall and turned around and saw it and found it. So I was down there, and everybody else came down and shot it too, but since I was the guy that saw it first, I was first down there and got my pick of spots. And so this was the shot I've got, and I'm pretty happy with that. This is another shot from that workshop. And this just kind of goes to show you that you can do a few things on your own once in a while. We were, there was only 7 of us, and we were in a large vehicle, and we were coming back from a shoot in the mountains where we had been shooting wild cougars. And we were driving along this road, and I looked up and saw this lone guanaco coming down the ridge with mountains. This is in Torres del Paine National Park, with the mountains coming in and out of the mist and the fog in the background. Yell, stop, stop, I got to get this shot. So the guy stopped the car. I got out. I had to change from my wildlife lens to my 70 to 200. So it took me a minute to get all set up and ready, but I finally got it set up and got this shot. The interesting thing was that there were 7 other photographers in the car. Not one of them got out to shoot this scene. And it's one of my favorite shots. Another way to hire a professional guide is to join a photography-oriented tour. Now, this is a little different than the workshops in that they're usually a single place, a single topic for a specific time. You don't usually have lodging or other amenities because it's just a one-time trip. Less expensive, of course. Here you're also mixed with other photographers. Again, you get an opportunity to get into some good places and some good times with few other tourists around. The favorite one that I did was the Antelope Canyon in northern Arizona. Now, the Antelope Canyon is on Navajo property, and you have to take a Navajo guide, whether you're on a photographic tour or a regular tour. But they have photographic tours that go early in the morning when the light's the best, and the guy walks you around and kind of shows you where some of the good shots are. The regular tours are in the afternoon, and they're a whole busload of people, and you can't really get a shot of the canyon with all the people running in and out of it. It's a flat canyon. It's about 1/4 mile long. It's about 75 feet deep, I think, and in some places 3 to 5 feet wide. It's a fabulous place. This is one of the shots I got looking down through the canyon. And you can see that, you know, I managed to get it without any other people in the frame because the other photographers in the group, they're all photographers, and they're courteous, and they ask you, is your lens open before they step in front of you and things like that. And they'll wait for you to get your shot before they jump in and try to get their own. And it's really nice. And this is this is probably my best-selling shot ever. I've had this printed 48 inches tall 4 different times now, and I've got one hanging in a building in Vancouver. There's one hanging in a building somewhere in Sydney, Australia. And it's just been a really good one for me. Another way to hire a professional guide is just take a normal sightseeing tour. Now, these are less expensive usually than the photographic tours. You're limited in what sites you see. You usually get good ones because obviously you're on a sightseeing tour, but they're not necessarily photography oriented as the photography workshop would be. You don't have anybody showing you, you know, where good shots are. You don't have anybody that's even really interested in getting you in the best place to take a photograph. And you have a lot of other non-photographers that are on the tours and can get in the way, although sometimes they can be interesting subjects in the way. You can meet some nice people, but my experience is they're all going to be interested in your equipment. None of them have seen stuff like that or know it. And then they're all going to want some of your photos. One of the ones that we took in this regard was a river rafting trip down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. And you can see we had 2 rafts. I was on the trailing raft here, and that was the other raft in the group. So I was able to get them in the picture and give a little perspective to the picture here. Another one shot from a camp. This was a 6-day trip, and we camped on the river every night when we were going down through there. And this was one of the participants in the group that happened to walk out into the shot I was getting and thought, well, that looks kind of cool. And then I wish the weeds weren't in the way, but it's not too bad. And then, of course, I snuck off one night when we were camping and found a spot on the edge of the river to shoot a star trail with the canyon in the foreground. And I was lucky in that I had the moon over my left shoulder lighting up the canyon walls, and it made for just a fascinating photograph. Now, I had looked at the map and the trip and the plans areas for camping before we went and checked out each spot and looked at what the possibilities for star trails and Milky Way shots and things were. So I kind of knew when and where I wanted to do these shots before I left. So I did do a little bit of work on my own. The other next place, and this is my favorite method, buy a good photographing wherever book. You can usually find these by just Googling how to photograph or photographing certain place. It's much less expensive, but still saves a lot of time. You get all the best information about places to shoot and good information on times to be there. All the logistics such as travel arrangements and schedule and all that are yours to figure out. So you got to do some of that work. But you have a lot greater freedom and flexibility, which can be important if weather interferes. You can go back and get a shot that you missed if the weather didn't cooperate. You'll get little to no instruction, although there is some in those books, and we'll talk about that a little bit. You probably won't meet too many other interesting people. Here's some of the books that I've used, and you can see most of them are titled Photographing the Southwest or Photographing California, Photographing Adirondacks, then a couple of photographers' guides. This is one from the Photographing the Southwest book. This is Horseshoe Canyon or Horseshoe Bend in northern Arizona. And in the book, the guy talked about if you get there early, well before sunrise, you can catch the sun coming up with the alpenglow lighting up the canyon and the sunlight actually lighting up the Vermilion Cliffs in the background, which you can see up in the upper part, mostly the left-hand part of the picture. Now those are, 7 or 8 miles away, and they're, 900,000-foot cliffs, so they're pretty big, but they look small when you use the really wide angle lens here. But it worked out just exactly as he said. And well, I have to tell you, this was like a 500-foot drop, and the scariest thing I did was trying to set my camera up on the edge of that cliff in the dark. So I was kind of standing back, and what I would do is I would pull the camera back and adjust where it was at, and then stick the tripod out on the rock, take a shot with my remote trigger, and then pull the camera back and look at it and adjust the camera. It was too scary to stand out there with it. This is another one in a book I got on photographing Yellowstone National Park. The guy in the book said, if you go to this certain lookout, which is about a 3-mile walk from the parking area, at 9 o'clock in the morning during the month of June, there's always, anytime the sun's out, there's always a rainbow across the waterfall. And I walked down there, and there was one other photographer there. That was all that was there. And sure enough, at 9 o'clock, the rainbow showed up. I was able to get the shot. This is another one from Photographing Southwest. This is called The Wave, and I wouldn't even have known this was there if it hadn't been for the guidebook. And this is a place that's controlled by the Bureau of Land Management. At this time, they were only allowing 20 people a day into the area. And it was a very rugged 3-mile hike to get back to this place, but you had to get in a lottery. And so he explained that you had to go to Kanab, Utah, and to the offices and enter the lottery, and then you drew for the next day. And so we planned to go from where we were staying in Page over to Zion that day. We stopped that morning, got our names in the lottery. Luckily, we were the very first ones selected, so we got in. I was with my sister. This was my sister and her husband. Went to Zion, came back the next day, went to the Wave. Took the hike out there, and I was lucky enough to get out ahead of time and got up and set up when they were just coming in and walking through it. Made a real nice picture with these guys. And then lastly, there's do your own research. Obviously the least expensive. It can be a lot of work. The way I do this, and I do this somewhat often, but what I'll do is I'll look online at photographic workshops in the area, if there are any, and see where they go. Because they've always got ideas about where the best places to shoot are. And so that gives you a real good starting list on where you want to go to look at shooting things. And then you can look online at other photographers worked in the area and see where they went and what they did. And that gives you another list of places and things you can do. And then you have to do all your own logistics. Once you get there, you can ask other photographers you see and then of course go exploring on your own. This gives you the most freedom and flexibility of what to shoot. And again, when weather interferes, can be handy. A couple of places I've done this. This is in Sedona, Arizona. And we were just walking around. We were doing, some hikes out in the outer parts of the canyon. And we just came up over a hill and saw this. It was a, very cloudy, overcast day. Saw this mountain lit up with a hole in the clouds that just poured the sun through there. Again, I had to change my lens, so it was a quick switch to my 70 to 200, but managed to get the shot before the light went away. And one of my favorites. And then a few years ago, Bob Wren and I did a trip to Bosque del Apache National Wildlife Refuge in New Mexico. And we went out there because we had read that it's one of the best birding places in the lower 48 states to be able to find and shoot a lot of different birds. And we kind of discovered on our own that in one area, there was a canal that ran parallel to the road that a lot of ducks like to fly in and out of and land and feed on. And so the first day we spent out there trying to chase ducks around and didn't have a lot of luck, but soon came to realize that ducks like to take off into the wind. And if one of us got downwind with their camera and the other one went upwind and started walking towards the ducks would take off right at the one with the camera set up. And so we had a ball. We spent the whole day doing this. One of us would go one way and the other would go the other way and set the camera up, and the other guy would walk down and birds would fly by him. This was one I got with the duck flying right by me. I think Bob has a shot from this day that he actually ended up being on the cover of Ducks Unlimited magazine. So it was quite a fruitful day for us. And then we also asked other photographers about, where they're going with things. And we found out that the sandhill cranes spent the night, although they came and fed a lot in Bosque del Apache, they spent the night at a place about 10 or 15 miles north of there called El Bernardo, I think it is. And so we went up there for the evening, and sure enough, all the sandhill cranes came flying in, and we got a lot of pictures of them, but decided we would come back in the morning and get them in the morning light. And they actually had a photography blind set up right off of the edge of this pond where all these cranes were spending the night. And so we set up and got the shot that I wanted to get the whole time, which was cranes flying by with the mountains in the background. But I managed to get the cranes in the foreground. There's a tree there, and if you notice in the tree, there's a couple of bald eagles perched in there. And the cranes are just, in a really great position around the tree. It turned out to be a great opportunity for us, and a really good time. And there were several other photographers in there shooting as well, but it wasn't really very crowded because they had these really nice photography blinds set up. And of course, we'd have never found this if we hadn't, run into another photographer that we were talking to and found out about it. So that's the end of my travel tips. Tech tip. Is there any questions?
Walt, this is Jack, speaker. How are you?
Hi, Jack. Good.
When you went to Bosque, so literally you and Bob just said, here it is on a map, let's go see what's there?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
We had read about it and had seen a lot of photographs from other photographers, but we didn't really know anything else about it. So we just went over and started exploring. And so, yeah, we had a lot of fun with it.
That's a place.
Bob, he was a great deal of fun anyway. So
He's talked about it a little bit, but that's a place I want to go. So is that where they winter over, like in the winter months, or?
yes, that's where it's similar to here in the crane migration, in that they come down from Canada. They do spend some time in Nebraska, but then winter over there in New Mexico.
Okay, thank you.
Walt, this was a great program, especially because of your wonderful pictures, your examples. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it.
Questions?
Anyone have any more questions? When's the next trip? Oh,
I have a question.
go ahead.
What was the most challenging travel photography situation you have ever found yourself in?
Oh, well, that's a good question. And I'm not sure I can even answer that, because every time I've gone out, I've enjoyed myself to such a great extent that I've never really found any of it a challenge. I mean, and my wife goes with me, and she's just the greatest thing, because I always call her my artistic director, because she's always looking for different, artistic things that I can shoot and whatnot. But we've hiked in mountains. We've gone to, 13, 14,000 feet on 9 and 10 mile hikes so I can see a waterfall, and she troops right along with me every time. So it's always just been just a great deal of fun.
Thank you, Walt.
Thank you all. You're awesome.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Hit record, you already hit record. So we're setting up for our photo share next. While we're doing that, Walt, one more question. Since you're hiking all like that, what is a couple pieces of gear that's not photography maybe that you just got to take with you?
Well, you've always got to take water. You want to be careful with taking snacks, especially if it's bear country. And if it's bear country, you always want to have bear spray and hopefully a bell or something that'll jingle as you walk on your backpack. Those would be my suggestions.
Good ones. Cool.
I know, honey. I know it. Maybe some more dinner.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
And I still with us?
I know.
Yeah, I'm here.
are?
Well, my images tonight are all devoted to the theme of grandeur, and ironically, they're all kind of travel photography. And as a scientist, I travel a lot, but I do have to do it on my own, and I travel to meetings. And this one is actually an evening shot in the Capitolini Museum in Rome. And instead of focusing on the magnificent artworks that you see on the walls and that, I was actually captivated by this chandelier, which threw out a gentle light, and I found it very pretty. And it just, the whole museum is this magnificent building. The architecture is amazing. The light fixtures like this are really amazing, and they suggest the opulence from another time, and so that to me kind of seems to be appropriate for grandeur.
Very nice.
And then this one here is this is now in France. The other one was in Italy, in Mantua. This is in France, in Paris. And this is a restaurant that's been around for many, many years, many centuries. And it's got the Art Nouveau style, and it's a sort of an icon of Art Nouveau, and it's very elaborate. And it's just a really beautiful place. And I got this shot. This is actually, unlike the previous shot was a SLR shot. This is a panorama on my iPhone. It was an iPhone 8 that I shot it with. And this restaurant is just an Art Nouveau gem. And it just, again, speaks of another time when things were grand. And this was very early in the evening before people had got there. But it's a panorama shot with an iPhone. This is also an iPhone shot. This is in Paris as well. It's the Sainte-Chapelle. It's a beautiful church that it consists entirely of stained glass. The walls are stained glass. It's a magnificent building. It's a real treasure. And it just takes your breath away when you stand there. And this is a picture looking towards the sort of the area that the altar kind of is below that. And it's just a magnificent place to be, particularly when
What's with you?
late in the afternoon, when the sun is kind of not that high. The light really comes in beautifully in the building.
As you do, you need a head rub. You need a head rub.
Beautiful.
And then this is going back to Italy again. This is in Mantova in Lombardy again. This is at the Ducal Palace. And this is the ballroom in the Ducal Palace in Mantova in Lombardy. And it's a magnificent building. And of course, this room is empty because it's a ballroom. But its ceiling and its walls and the floor indicate again the opulence and the grandeur of days gone by. And this is shot with an iPhone again with the pano mode.
Nice.
And this is the final shot, again a pano with an iPhone 8 when I had it at the time. And this is again in Mantova, and this is a beautiful theater called the Teatro Scientifico Bibbiena, and this is an amazing place. And Mozart played here when he was 12 years old, and I'm standing on the stage. I took this picture on the stage, and there's a grand piano which the 12-year-old Mozart played at, and brought the house down, and his father had accompanied him on the trip. And this is what the view Mozart would have had. Of course, it would have been full of people. But I have to say, when I stood on the stage, and and this is a grand place, and grandeur is obviously the word that you think of here, I couldn't help thinking of the Muppets, and then those two old characters that always, have a chat in that box that they sit in, and they were always whining about something. So that was what went through my head as I took the shot. So they're my 5 images devoted to grandeur. And ironically, Walt, they're travel photography, but they're all shot inside. I don't have any outdoor pictures today.
Very nice.
Great
Well,
shot.
thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Great job. Right, next is Carol. We got your images. Carol, you still with
Okay.
us?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is the Badlands. We went on a trip last year out to the Badlands. This is in the evening. Fortunately, we got to stay about a week out there, and so there was a little change of the weather, and just kind of lucked out on the sunset and the Virgate clouds there.
Nice.
This was in Canyonlands. It happened to be a stormy day, and when we were out driving around, the storm was coming in, and I set up my tripod, my husband and I were taking pictures, and man, it was just a lucky catch. Out of about 200 pictures, I caught that lightning. And then the park ranger came up, says, "You better get in your car because you're nothing but a lightning rod out there with your tripod." Yeah, he was right. So we got in the car.
Good advice.
Yeah. It's Utah. Yeah.
Like it.
Grand Tetons last year. I ran this one through Topaz a little bit to make it just a little bit painterly. But both times we were out west, the skies were hazy because of the fires in California and Canada. Mesa Arch in Canyonlands. This is one that's photographed quite a bit. I made sure that I got up early enough to get out there before everybody else did. And I lucked out as the sun was just starting to hit underneath that arch. I'm not sure what canyon that is, but that's also out in Utah, and this is stormy weather, and I believe it's shot on the same day that I shot the lightning one. Sunrise in Cody, Wyoming, before we went to Yellowstone. The shot with a telephoto, and it was very hazy because of the California fire smoke.
That's it. Thank you, Carl. All the images I got. Great job.
Gorgeous images.
Okay, boy, these are some tough acts to follow.
That's for sure.
Grandeur. Smoky Mountains, Smoky Mountain overlook. Foreground, middle ground, background, reducing in contrast for a beautiful, beautiful image, I thought. Nice, rhododendron right there in the front.
What F stop?
Pardon?
This is high F stop, small F stop, F11.
Probably F8 to F11, somewhere around there.
All right.
Okay, this is Watkins Glen Gorge in New York. It's definitely a trip I would recommend to anyone. If you start at the top and walk down to the bottom, it takes about 4 hours to walk about a mile. Because you're always stopping for pictures like this. And it's just an immense place, great place to go. You might see the human being on the trail up in the upper left there. That gives you kind of a sense of scale of how big this place really is. That's they're shale cliffs, they're ancient shale cliffs, and just the awesome experience. No, you take a shuttle back up at the top. This is, beg your pardon?
Did you fill that?
Yeah, I did. That's a fake sky.
That's big sky again.
No, that's sunset at Lake Champlain. Looking from Vermont across the lake to the Adirondacks in the background. And this is Portland Headlight in Portland, Maine. Beautiful sky, great rocky outcroppings. The sea was not really rough, so it didn't really have too many white caps, but made for a very pleasant image. And this is Walt. This is one of your early morning sunrise with the photography group photos. That's Cataloochee in Tennessee. I was with a group of photographers, and like Walt said, you got up before the sunrise, drove out there, and watched it come up. Those 5 were all on trips somewhere in the eastern United States, and then the last one is right in my own backyard. Nice star trail from my next door neighbor's pond. And the lights in the foreground were from his porch lights.
Very nice.
And that one light on the horizon there, that's my house.
There you go. Very nice, Don. Thank you. Eddie. Eddie.
So nothing says grandeur better than France. This is Versailles.
Very nice.
So this is the Hall of Mirrors, which is filled with tourists to the point where it's difficult to get a camera out. This was actually a minute after it closed. And to be able to get this shot, I'll just say you need a diversion to get rid of the security people. And I made this my one goal while I was there, was to get this shot, so goals fulfilled. It's practically impossible to do it.
Hell, you did it.
A special group.
It's pretty good.
This is the courtyard at the Louvre. Can you get rid of that stuff at the top?
Well, I'm trying.
Just make it full screen and go away. This was after a walk down the Seine that started at about 4 o'clock in the morning. Finally made it down to the museum.
Awesome. Yeah,
I love the way you got the sun right behind the statue's head.
you meant to do that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's right. That's why I thought, I just wanna make sure, I just wanna make sure. Okay,
Can you just make it full screen and then get rid of them?
it is full screen. It just, this is just a Zoom. You do it again.
Shows the old and the new, for sure.
Yeah, the new entrance to the old museum.
Is this early morning or late afternoon?
Very early. Before it opened. I started this trip about 4 in the morning.
Good for you.
Yeah. This is one of the bridges that spans the river on Andre, I think. A little bit after sunrise.
These are all the same day.
Yes. It's a walk down the river. This is Notre Dame. before it burned.
That's a beautiful picture of it.
But this isn't the part that burned, it's still there.
Oh,
Well, the spire is gone now, so you actually have a historical picture because the
Okay.
spire collapsed.
It was certainly a beautiful structure and the entire property was filled with flowers and it was a beautiful time. It was in May. It was a beautiful time to be there.
beautiful. That's it?
No, there should be more.
Swear to God. See what I got?
There should be 6 of them. Oh, I guess that was 6. Yes, that is it.
Eddie? You good? Thank you.
Thanks, Eddie. Nice stuff.
Nice stuff.
Good job.
I mean, you,
Mine,
you.
mine.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, here we are. We go from Paris and now we're in Las Vegas. I went there about a year ago to visit my nephew who had just moved out there. And we had a little family reunion with some other family members, but took a helicopter ride over to the Grand Canyon. And then we actually landed in the Valley of Fire at sunset.
That's nice.
And I was too busy watching to get many photos. Here are a few that I did have and are kind of fun to share. We actually got out and walked around a bit and watched sunset, enjoyed a beverage.
Here we go. Now it makes sense.
Isn't that right? Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
The grandeur with the bottle of champagne and solo cup. So, yeah, it was somebody's birthday that was on the trip.
Very nice.
Not mine.
Oh,
Yeah, so that was about 3 stories tall, a moving praying mantis with fire that shoots out of it. And the little spot up there in the upper right is actually the crescent moon.
but then,
So that was really fun. That was actually a little bit south of Fremont Street, artsy area.
that was fun.
It was a really good time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
Eddie?
Yes.
Aha. Birthday.
The topic was birthday.
It was birthday in Grand.
This is a grandson at his first birthday. He was having a good time with what they call smash cake.
It's birthday abuse.
Yeah. Did you share it with him? This is the 4th birthday, same grandson, but I like the sign on the table. It says, take chances, make mistakes, get messy.
Yeah.
He does that.
That's awesome.
Now, grandeur comes in different forms.
Yeah.
This past April, we were in the Keukenhof Gardens in the Netherlands. And I timed this trip for when the gardens are in bloom. They were only open for several weeks a year because the tulips die off. Next. So here are a few photos of the gardens, which are just spectacular.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Really still.
That's it. So they open, I think, end of March. I was there about 50 years ago, end of March. Well, the gardens weren't in bloom yet. They bloom in April, and by the middle of May, they're closed.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Jerry. Good job. Julia.
Okay, these are all grandeur and these are all Spain. They're obviously, so these are the mountains in Basque Country of northern Spain, taken from the town of Aranzazu. Very mountainous here, and very beautiful.
You are beautiful.
This is Loyola, also in Spain, famous for Saint Loyola. This is it's a palace in central Spain. And it is humongous. As you can see, there's all windows along there. My sister and I went there, El Escorial. So, my sister and I thought that was where we were staying. We got there at 10 o'clock at night, and it wasn't where we were staying after all. So fortunately, a lady walking her dog guided us to the right place, but came back and took that several pictures of it.
It's beautiful.
And this is the one of the Roman aqueducts. This is at Valle de los Caídos. It's a monastery, the Valley of the Fallen, which to commemorate soldiers on both sides of the Spanish Revolutionary War. So this was the monastery that we stayed at. That's right there at the actual site where Federico Franco used to be buried. He was buried there. Inside the mountain, there's a huge basilica. You go in this long hall right in the middle of the underground of the mountain.
Very nice.
And so mountain and ancient castle.
Great job, Julia. Beautiful pictures. Beautiful pictures. Raoul, is he here? Oh, he is here. Hey, you never know, man.
First birthday.
All right, so those are my pictures, and I took the assignment literally. So we have birthdays, and as I mentioned before, I'm not sure why I call this birthday abuse. That's my first grandchild, and he's happy. I think, or he's not sure, one of the two. Now, the next picture, again, it's birthday and it's feeling. So Grayson, which you saw his picture first, he is meeting for the first time his sister, newborn sister. And that's also my grandchild, and she just came from the hospital. My wife, 43 years, or 43 years. She is in the left, and my daughter Allison in the right.
What's the baby's name?
And the baby's name is River. River. So Grayson is meeting River for the first time. Now, the second picture is kind of really truly the happiness of parents when they give their child the birthday abuse. So this is my second grandchild, Holden, and my son Thomas and his wife Erin. And you can see they are happy. I'm not sure, you know, you're gonna have to ask Holden 10 years, 20 years from now how he feels about that. And this is Grayson, the first one that you saw. At 3 years old, when he discovered the happiness of birthday and the presents, and you can see the glisten in his eye when he's looking at this candle. I like that picture. Okay, let's bring it all together now. So everybody knows that I've been in, I hope, I've been on vacation and I've been taking a lot of pictures on the beach. But I decided to do a family collection, put it together. So from left to right, in the upper left is Grayson, who's actually playing in the sand in here. Second to him would be Thomas and Holden. That's my grandchild. Allison, my daughter, and River. And then in the lower hand corner is my wife with River. And then I have my youngest grandchild, it's Cooper. And Cooper and Thomas, his dad, would be in the lower right-hand corner. So take this and finalize it with, this is what the kid looked like when he first meet the ocean and sand, and he's not really sure what it is, but he's determined to find out. That's my grandchild, Cooper. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Rose.
That's Sarah. Sarah, mine?
Nice. Nice, thanks.
You're in line. Hey, Sarah. Can't hear you. Sarah's not in line with us?
Huh? I think if it's Sarah Slover.
Yeah.
I think she.
I think she had to leave.
Well, you know what? She's not here. We just want to go through it. She done closure, you know, so.
Right.
Then. This is Arizona. Looks like Arizona. I like the picture because of the scale. Nice sun, guys. Good job, Sarah. Good job.
You'll see it on the recording.
She will see it in the recording. All right, I'm gonna stop screen sharing.
That's it for our official program for this evening in our meeting.
Well, congrats to the people that did all the technology and audio today.
Thank you.
Oh, we have a note? Lisa? Hey, I don't know if you can see her, turn the light on.
Right, actually.
Yeah.
I have trouble turning them on.
Yeah, the switches are messed up, I think.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, see, you see, you just need the right person to do this.
Lisa,
Where were you earlier?
yeah.
So people can hear you.
Lisa's got some.
I am Lisa. I'm your delinquent Instagram coordinator. So as many of you know, I am moving on to Boston in July. So I'll be here for July meeting. And then I'll be online after that point. So I am looking for maybe 2 or 3 people who would be interested in joining me to help spearhead the Instagram account, and then eventually I will pass this job on to you. Additionally, I am looking to feature a few more people from the club, so if you have not been featured, I know, Calvin, I'm still waiting on you, you're at the top of my list. Kip, I have, Don, I have, Juliet, I have, Raouf, I have, and Jaime, I have featured you. If you have not been featured yet, send me a message if you know me on Facebook, send me a message if you know me on Instagram, and I'll make sure to get your little feature out. And then the idea with the Instagram account is we will start then featuring people according to their recent work. Yeah.
So take a look at our Instagram and the features that Lisa does. Typically she does 3, so they're nice in a row and it's organized well. And she has some beautiful pros and descriptions of the photos. And so really nice. So yeah, do please reach out to her and she's got great work in what she's doing with her Instagram. And we are going to need some help with that in the future. Coming pretty quick. Thank you for that. Anyone else got something for us? Yeah.
Are
Anyone
these,
else?
I have a question, Jaime.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Listening.
Are these features weekly or every other week or monthly?
Hard and heavy in August and September, and then I took a 7-month break and I posted again today. So we finally featured Bob Wren and his birds and astrophotography today. So for the next month, I'm planning on featuring all of these other members of the group that I've come to know and love. And then we're gonna take it in a slightly different direction where whatever you guys are posting to Facebook, whatever's been shared for the portrait workshop or for a field trip, that's gonna get posted there. So it'll no longer be groups of 3, but it'll be a shot by Jaime and a shot by Eddie over here. Just whatever is good coming from the club, trying to keep us recent and updated.
Awesome. Take that. So if you want to get featured, get her in before she goes in July.
Anybody else had any other question?
Good question so far. Anyone in the room? Anyone online?
I will stop recording at least.
Well, thank you, everyone. Please take a look at the web